Hello, everyone. My name is April Heaney, and I direct the Learning Resource Network at the University of Wyoming, also called Learn. And I also oversee a writing program in Learn that is really aimed at helping new students, first year students at the university, who come in a little less confident in their writing or a little less experienced with academic writing. And so our first year writing courses are tailored to kind of help those students get a bit more support and a bit more practice in their first semester. I'm also very lucky to have met and worked with Suchi when she was visiting the university. And I'm also supporting Mollie in these presentations and just feel really grateful to be involved. So I'm going to give you a quick presentation on an approach that we have taken in our writing program to help less experienced writers engage with academic writing. And we have started focusing one of our main writing projects on the idea of community-focused research or having students identify a challenge, a problem in their home community that they can explore, research, develop some ways that they think that problem or challenge could be lessened, and then write about that in a paper and present the problem to their peers. So my first slide gives a few reasons why focusing on students' own hometowns or home communities can be a really important way to get them engaged and help them succeed in their writing projects. First is that focusing on their local communities can mean higher engagement because they are writing about places that they know well and challenges that they maybe have experienced. They're very interested, engaged, and focused generally in this project. Second, they tend to begin the project with a little more confidence in the topic and in their eventual writing because they have expertise that they can bring to the beginning of the project and then add to their own expertise with the research that they do. They also have opportunities to learn both primary and secondary research as part of this assignment. In primary research, they usually interview a leader of the community or a local in the community to help establish that this problem exists and to get other perspectives of the problem and ways to help lessen it. Secondary research, they do newspapers, news sources, academic articles, or other kinds of research about similar issues in other communities that they can bring into their own project. And then finally, their papers and their presentations tend to involve more original writing and more original arguments because they're not doing very big, vague topics that they have trouble bringing any fresh perspectives or ideas to. So the steps that the students take in this community writing project, they first choose a challenge that's faced by their own home community. So something that hopefully they have experienced, but certainly that they have seen in their community that causes some kind of challenge for the community. Second, they find local sources that show the challenge. Could be local news, online news, interviews with locals or leaders, local databases, etc., but information from the community that helps to show evidence of the problem. They then find national or global or other sources from around the world that discuss similar problems in other communities. So if a student is looking at pollution on beaches, then the next secondary research step is for them to find research on pollution in beaches in other areas, in other countries. How have other places both studied this problem and tried to help it in their own communities? The next step is for them to evaluate all of their sources for both credibility and usefulness to their own argument about their local town or their local community. And then they write a justification of the problem and a call to action to help the challenge in their local community. Some examples of student chosen local challenges from the University of Wyoming. These are just a few. Poor local road maintenance. A lot of students find that their home communities don't spend enough money keeping roads drivable and safe. Ineffective management of local wild horses, which we have in Wyoming. Bullying in school. inadequate protection of national park wildlife, so buffalo and grizzly bears and other kinds of wildlife that may not be adequately protected. Need for more teacher training and disability support is another, and increasing funds for local parks so that they can be more beautiful, more accessible, and more fun for the local residents. So the assignments in this community-focused writing project are on Mollie's website. So I'm just going to give you a quick taste of these assignments here and then invite you to take a look at the full assignments and adapt them or take whatever little crumbs might be helpful to you. So the source map is one of the first assignments in this project. The students need to take all of the sources that they find and then evaluate them. So in the first step, they attach each source to one or more of these 4 questions. First, how do students know that the challenge exists? How did it start and then grow over or develop over time? Number 2, who is affected by the issue? Locally, outside of the local? Number 3, what research has been done on this issue locally, nationally, and globally? How have other places tried to solve this same challenge or a similar challenge? And number 4, what reasons might someone give to oppose the student's suggested steps for helping the problem? So we really want them to really think about who might disagree with you, why, and what might you say to them to help add to the credibility of their own paper. Part 2 of the source map is for them to actually assess each source. And so they look at these 3 questions. How credible is the source? In other words, is it mostly unbiased? What are the qualifications and experiences of the author that make them a good source for this topic? Number 2, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the source? And then number 3, how does this source help the student to make the argument they want to make and suggest steps to help the issue? We understand that all sources have their own strengths and weaknesses, but we want students to practice evaluating for those things as they decide whether a source is worth using in their paper. So the parts of the paper that they write, which we call a researched argument, are number 1, students introduce the local challenge and describe the history of the problem and who is affected. Second, they talk about how they have learned about this issue. How can they support the existence of the problem in the community? And how have they seen this problem researched and addressed in other communities in the country or in the world? Finally, they explain the opposition that they might encounter to their description of the challenge and or their ideas to help the problem. The final step in this whole project is for students, after they've written the paper, to present their argument to their peers in about a 5 or 6 minute presentation. So the pieces of their presentation are pretty simple and they have a lot of fun with it. But first they introduce themselves, they explain why they chose this particular community challenge. Second, they introduce the problem itself and its history. They explain who is effective and how they know this problem is real to the community. Third, they explain their suggestions to help lessen this challenge in the community and why they think these steps would be helpful. They describe, finally, who might object to that, to their discussion of the problem or to their ideas for solving the challenge. And then they invite questions from the class, and that tends to be a very lively discussion within the class. So again, please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or want to follow up on any of this information. And if any of these tidbits look helpful to you, I hope that they might help you introduce a small piece of community focus and community research into your classes. Thanks again for listening.